Okay. Hello, hello. Welcome in. Welcome in, everybody. Pile in. We'll get started in just a few minutes here. Once everybody gets settled. But welcome. Good to see everybody. We'll wait just a couple minutes to let everybody come in, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Yeah, let us know where you're from in the chat. It's always good to see the global community that is Zeplin. We usually have people from all over the world. So yeah, let us know. Okay, looks like we got some folks from North America. Oh, from everywhere. Okay. Fantastic. All right, so just some Zoom logistics before we start. If you have questions, make sure to put them in the Q&A portion of Zoom. Very fun stuff. We'll be monitoring the Q&A, and I'll take live questions from it. So yeah, put them in the Q&A if you want them answered, and we'll get to it. We'll get to it somehow. And then also, if you're not already, I would recommend joining our Discord. It's where me and other members of the community team at Zeplin will hang out, and we'll talk to Zeplin users, and users will talk amongst themselves and basically just share best practices or maybe issues that they're facing, and we can all kind of come together as a team and help each other in there. So I'll just post the Discord in the chat for everybody here. Okay. Yeah, so if we don't get to all of your questions, I'll be in the Discord for a half hour or hour after the webinar, and they'll be there to chat, answer any questions you have, and yeah, talk to each other. Okay, we're a couple minutes past, so I think let's go ahead and get started. My name is Mike Pitt. I work on the community crew at Zeplin. And basically what I'm focused on doing is finding stories from the community, figuring out how our pro users are using Zeplin, and then I'll end up sharing those stories, those videos, other pieces of content with all of you. So if you do have any interesting ways that you're using Zeplin, or would just like to share and to enrich the community, then ping me on LinkedIn or actually ping me in the Discord. And yeah, maybe next time we'll be up here together talking to everybody else. Okay. Great. So that's me. That's the community crew. That's Discord. Today, we're going to talk about all the ways that Zeplin integrates with all of your amazing tools. So we're going to overview Slack, Jira, Storybook, and VS Code if we have time. But basically, the impetus for this session is that, we have all these different tools that we use to either collaborate or organize our processes or store, something. And we don't always have access to that extraneous information when we're moving from a mock-up to a high fidelity design, all the way through development to production. But that information is really, really important, right? And we want that information when we're working on our designs and through our designs. So today I'm going to show you a couple ways that Zeplin integrates with these different tools and brings their information into the Zeplin ecosystem. So we're going to overview Slack, Jira, Storybook, and VS Code. All right, so why don't we start with Slack here? Oh, little sneak peek there. Basically, what we've heard is that a lot of our teams will collaborate on Slack. So Slack is kind of their source of truth for conversations. And a lot of times, even within Zeppelin, it's the case too that we're not only talking about designs, but other pieces of Zeppelin's business within Slack. So that's the source of truth for conversations. And it might be the place that you and your team are communicating about designs, doing design reviews. But the issue becomes that you don't necessarily have the visual representation of the design or other design information, like these screens, say in Slack. And so on the right-hand side here, where we see integrations, basically we can click this plus button. You can see that we have a couple different options: Slack, Teams, Trello, Storybook. Slack and Teams are very similar in the way that they work and the type of value that they add. But we're going to go ahead and add Slack. This is just a prompt on our web application to do some authentication. And we're going to do snack overflow. And we'll open that in Zeppelin. And there you go. On the right-hand side here, we can see that now this project is connected to Slack. So anytime something changes in this project, say a screen was uploaded, or a comment was added, or a component was uploaded, new version, Zeppelin will send a notification to that Slack channel to notify your team that's working on this particular project. So maybe I'm in the screen and I see this copy, bundle. I'm like, bundle isn't a very fun word. I gotta say, I think basket is a much, much better word. So actually, I'm gonna say we should change this to basket. It's a little bit more foodie, right? We'll just add some markdown here and a fun little GIF. Oops. Great. So now we can see that Patrick is. Oh, okay. Whoops. Looks like I deleted this. There we go. Now we can see that Patrick is inhaling all these hamburgers here. But so we added a note on our screen. Let's see what happens in Slack now. And boom, there we go. So that note that we just added comes in directly in Slack. And not only that, but I can see that if different screens are updated, those are coming in to Slack as well. So the benefit here is that I no longer need to tool switch. And I now have the context of my visual screens, of what's happening in those screens. And I have that directly in the place that I'm collaborating in, which is Slack. Okay, fantastic. Great, so that's a Slack integration. Just showing you a little bit about setting it up and how it works and what it does. Now I think we can move on to the Jira integration, and we can show you how we bring in the information from Jira into Zeppelin. So actually for Jira, you don't add it on the right-hand side here. You'll have to do that through your Jira instance. And so we see here, we're in Jira. And Jira is kind of this, I know it's old and It's been used for many, many years, but it really is this beautiful tool for work item tracking and for operationalizing our process from design to development. And what I mean by that is that if you're not familiar with Jira, you have these different buckets and you have tickets, right? And depending on where this particular ticket, maybe it's development of a particular feature of your application, depending on where that is, you'll move it throughout this operational process. So selected for development, in progress, done, right? So it really helps you organize your entire workflow. And not only that, but you can see all the tasks that are upcoming. So here I have quite a few on the left-hand side. I can see where they are in the cycle, maybe understanding some kind of bottleneck. And then I can also see if maybe there's any roadblocks that are stopping me or my peers from finishing a task. But the issue is that in our design tools today, we have that structure in Jira and that tracking. But when we go to the designs in our design tool, none of that information exists. So we just see the screens and all that structure and all that organization that we created in Jira. It's not applied directly to our designs. And sure, you can see it in Jira, but if I'm developing a screen or working on a screen, then I want to see what issue it's connected to, so that I know. And basically, this is what Zeplin allows you to do. So once you've installed the Jira integration, what you can do is you can attach a project being one of these here. So say our snacks app. You can attach a section. So we see here that all of our screens are organized nicely into these sections. We can attach one of those. We can attach individual screens, and we can also attach flows. So here I'm going to choose a project, our snack app, obviously, and we get a little preview here too. So I can jump directly to it from Jira. And boom, there we go. This is right where we were. Now on the right-hand side, you might notice that we have that Jira ticket. So that's all good and dandy, but what if I want a little more of a granular view? So I know that I'm working on a couple tickets, and I just want to filter all of my screens based on those tickets and get to work and do those. Well, guess what? You can do that. So here in this other Zeplin project, I've attached these Jira issues to individual screens, and maybe I'm working on SOF1, SOF3, and SOF4. Well, there we go. There's all the screens that I'm working on. And so what was cluttered, a canvas or workspace, and what was confusing for me to understand, hey, what am I actually working on? Now you come in to Zeplin and you're applying that structure, that organization, that operational workflow. I'm applying it directly to the screens that I'm working on in Zeplin. So there we go. That's it. That's the Jira integration. Do we have any questions about that? Okay, it looks like we have one from Jana. Jana's asking, okay, so Jana is asking about how to install Jira. So I showed you how to install Slack here. And Jana's asking about how to do it for Jira. Basically, what you'll need is you need the admin of your Jira instance. They'll be the ones that have the ability to install third-party apps like the Jira integration. So talk to them. They'll be able to install it for you. And once you do that, then that's when you'll be able you'll get this little Zeplin pop-up, and that's when you'll be able to attach Zeplin project sections, screens, and flows. Yeah, actually, here it is. Yes. So I'll just put this in the chat. And that should help you out. So send that to your admin. Cool. All right. Let's keep moving here. Actually, one more thing I wanted to mention here. We just backtrack quickly to the Slack integration. Most people don't know this, but Zeplin has a fully functional web application. I know web apps are very hot now. So almost all the functionality that exists in Zeplin desktop application is available too in our web app. So if you enjoy web apps more, or you're working, say, on a Windows machine or, any other, you can always come to the Zeplin website. You can actually use our web app with Zeplin. But the thing I want to mention here is that in our web app, you can actually manage the preferences of your Slack integration. And that's what I just did here on the right-hand side. So maybe if I only want notifications about the screens, comments, and replies, well, then all I have to do is just uncheck these other notifications that I don't want. Done. And now, when those other actions happen within Zeplin, I won't get them within Slack. But I'll only get notified when screens are uploaded, when someone comments on a screen, and someone replies. So if you're looking for a way to filter some of the notifications in your Slack integration, that's the way to do it. A little bit of a pro tip there. Cool. All right, let's move on to Storybook, our Storybook integration. So Storybook, for those of you who aren't developers or maybe are unfamiliar with web development, Storybook is basically a repository for your developed components. So here we see I'm just on a web app again. And on the left-hand side here, you can see that I have all of my different stories. And I have my buttons and my cards. Should be familiar to most people here. And if I click on this button, it'll pop out the different kinds of buttons that I have. So I have a login, a primary, secondary. And not only is Storybook a repository for my developed components, but it's also a place where I can test and I can document my buttons. So you see this little actions tab down here. When I click this button, it's actually talking about this on-click action, and it gives me some information back. So as a dev, I can check to see that this button is behaving in the way that I want it to, and with no dependencies too, which makes development for me a lot easier. Not only that, but we have some documentation, and here I have a little code snippet. Cool. So one of the holy grails of design to development has always been merging the UI kit with the UI kit in design with these developed components. So I might have all of my components in my design tool here, but these are just the visual representations of those buttons, right? And they still need to be coded and implemented and sent into production. And that's kind of what Storybook is doing here, is moving us along that process. But there's no connection between this component library and my design tool and my repository in Storybook. until now. So in our integrations, we can go connect to Storybook. I'm actually just gonna copy this pathway. And boom, there we go. Zeplin has analyzed my Storybook instance. And on the left-hand side, we see all those components that we were talking about when we were just looking at Storybook. So there's my buttons again, my cards, my carousels, icons. And when I click on that primary button, it'll give me a preview of what that looks like in Storybook. And on the right-hand side, it'll also suggest buttons that I should link. So I can go ahead and approve them because they look pretty good. And now, if I go into a button here, actually, before we do that, I want to show one more thing. With this primary button here, I showed you linking it, but you can also unlink these buttons. So if I click edit up in the right-hand side, I can actually unlink that story right there. And obviously, if I want to link them again, I could do that too. But important for maintenance of the buttons. So now when I click this button in my screen, on the right-hand side, I have a link to open it in Storybook. You can see that the code is being brought in, and you see some properties here, that on click and that text. Not only that, but if I click this little link icon, I can pull up the preview that we were seeing earlier. So as a dev, it lets me compare what's in the design and what's in my repository. Or similarly, as a designer or as a dev, I can compare the two and make sure that the two are the same, right? And if I'm a designer, I have access to the actual implementation of this button now by clicking that view in Storybook and navigating to that button. So that's the Storybook integration. It's the realization of this long-held goal to connect that UI kit in your design tool with the front-end component library that you might have, say, in Storybook. Great. So I know there's a lot of questions that we didn't get to answer. I'm gonna post the Discord just one more time. So hop into the Discord. I'll be there. I'll answer all the questions. We can chat about different workflows, what you saw today, how to download it, and yeah, you can learn from your peers too. So join the Discord, and I'll answer those questions. Me and the team will answer the questions. So that's it for today. We overviewed integrating with Slack and how if you're collaborating in there, you can get the context of your designs. We talked about the structure that Jira provides for your workflow and how you can bring that directly in on the screens that you're working on in Zeplin. And then finally, Storybook, how you can merge your design UI kit, your visual UI kit with your implemented components and connect the two and have an idea of exactly what is going on from a design perspective. And as a developer, grab the code, quickly put it in your project, or navigate to a button and test it. But that's it for today. Thanks for joining. It was good to see everybody. Always good to see the global community that is Zeplin. I had a blast. And yeah, hop in Discord. I'll be in there for the next half hour or so we can chat. And yeah, thanks again. Okay. Bye. Want more Zeplin videos? Check these out and subscribe for regular updates.